This is Grizz's workshop. This scruffy-looking mofo is Grizz.
Not an expert, not an exemplar of safety. Proceed at your own risk.
Last October, my good friends gave me some wooden staves. They'd like me to make some furniture for them. I made this side table, and my wife was very keen on it. In fact, she said,
I want one.
so I started making one. And then just as I finished it, she said,
I want another one.
so it's the process. First of all, I start off with a plank of wood, which I cut into 2 bits. Let's see, I then used dowels to attach them with a bunch of glue. I set up overnight, trying to get as many clamps on there as I possibly can to keep it straight. Next day I take it off, it's bad magic. And then you see me using my circle cutting jig on my bandsaw. And just to show a different way, I'm using my router table to cut the circle out here. This normally works fine, however, I'd set the router up the night before and didn't tighten. Yeah, that happened. Could have been very dangerous. It just goes to show when you're woodworking, you've really got to take your time. And make sure you pay attention to safety. Which brings me to another mistake. Having bust that one through on the router table, I moved it to the bandsaw. Only I wasn't having a good time cutting the bandsaw. I realised afterwards that I put this blade back on, I'd inverted the blade. So instead of the cutting edge going down, the cutting edge was going up and it wasn't cutting properly. So I had a hard time. Anyway, when I finished both the circles, both the tops, I brought my trim router out and I put the chamfer on the bottom. It just makes it look a bit thinner on the side and not so hefty. But on the top I'm going for a round over, just to make sure there are no sharp edges. And after that the top's pretty much complete, just waiting for the legs to join it. Lovely mover when I'm sped up fast, and I did wonder whether or not Beyonce filmed herself cleaning staves with an angle grinder and thought, oh, look at those lovely moves, and she's been my inspiration. Very similar, even though I suppose Lizzo's a bit more up my street. You have to clean staves with the sanders because they just stay dirty. I mean, the patina on there is just dirt from being in the dunnage all the time it's there. So unfortunately you lose a lot of that patina. Well, I've tried just sanding the back. It comes off in your hand all the time and dirties everything up. The grinder does make light work of it. I'm making the template here for the legs, just so I can keep a consistent length for them. You see I'm cutting them rough on the chop saw or miter saw. using that block of wood to measure it before I cut them. And what I've missed here is you see the ends are sanded. I do try and cut them on my bandsaw. Try and use it as a jointer so that the point at the bottom, the point at the top is fairly flat, but there's enough flat surface that I can then glue it onto the block so it can get glued onto the top. So I drill a hole through, a small one for the screw to go through, and then I do a 10mm hole where the plug will go to cover the screws. Make it look a bit smarter. Just cleaning the holes out there, so got a good area to plug. Now this is my block, which I've cut off screen into an octagon. It keeps it a bit lighter under there. And the problem with staves is not one's the same. So the width here is very different. So just trying to get that length so it's wide enough for the biggest, but it won't be wide for all of them. I mean, the staves in general, they're very wonky. I think a lot of people who are used to spending hours milling furniture would not get on with the staves at all, because they're bent like a banana and warped like a banana. But here I am, just fixing it onto the top. I'm just using the sander here to smooth the top. I'm getting my block plane out so it looks like I use hand tools, but I don't very often. I'm using the level just so it is level. And now I need to do the stretcher underneath. So make it solid. So I'll cut the bits to length based upon the widest gap between the two legs, between the two pairs of legs. So once I get the distance fine, then I need to set it up for the half lap. I'm using some scrap here just to get down to the right level. I have to have a block behind, otherwise it doesn't cut all the way through when I use this trenching setup on the miter saw. Just going backwards and forwards with the saw there, so it makes a half cut all the way through, and then clean it up with my chisel and then see what they look like. Takes several attempts to get it right. And you've got a lovely cross. Now what I've got in my setup here are two cardboard boxes. Now they're to give me a consistent height when fitting the legs in mid-air. Now I use cardboard box because when I'm done I can fold the cardboard box and take it out. If I use a solid block it might be stuck in there, which I didn't want. And I did want it to be wide enough so it could support itself in the gap. I'm using a Shinto rasp here just to smooth down the edges so it fits in better. Can't quite see. I'm going to glue and screw it in place now. I'm cutting the plugs here. Oh, plug cutter from Lidl. Not the greatest, it burns quite a lot. But that great, I'll have to invest in some more. This is a little bit of a small bit of wood, so eventually it was more powerful than me and it took off with it. This is me on the second table, and attaching the legs. A much better view of how the cardboard box system works. Drilling a hole through, then a bigger hole for the plug, and gluing it in. Using a bit of paper there to drag the glue down between the gap. Once we're screwing it in then, and once it's in place, out comes the cardboard box, nice and flexible. And now I attach the plugs. Bit of glue, whack them in with a mallet. Repeat. Use my flush trim saw. Do a new blade on that one, it's caked in glue. And I cannot for the life of me clean it out. Finishing off with a sander here. Making it a bit smoother, more presentable. Cleaning with a cloth, looking for any glue squeeze out or anything else that needs rectifying. I'm going in with my chisel. Applying some oil linseed oil. I really like how oil linseed oil makes it all a little darker. Gives it some good protection as well, but I still like to rub some wax on afterwards. Keep hitting it with a 400 grit to knock down any grain that's been raised by the oil. And this is the Renaissance wax that I'm using. One of the promoted waxes I've seen, and finishes that isn't too expensive. I think people use this finish on smaller objects, but this table is just small enough to use. Bit of a polishing pad just to shine it up a little. Looking good, I think. Mrs Grizz would be happy with that. I'd put my maker's mark in there. So what do you think? Do you think Mrs Grizz would be happy with those two? She seemed quite happy, but then again...
Have you washed the car yet? Is the washing hung out? Have you fed the cat? The floors are looking dirty. Is that pile of clothes on the floor for washing? Where's my dinner? Is there a reason your leg is jigging up and down? Have you got a proper job yet? I want another table. Like and subscribe or else.